I made about Instagram ads. I got so many people sending me all of the weirdest Instagram ads that I couldn't not make another video about them. Now I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a lot of fun, and it does, and it will be. But before we have too much fun, I think it's important to remember that this chair sucks. I've been using this chair for a long time. It's a fine chair. It's sturdy enough. I guess what I'm trying to say is there's nothing fun or cool about this seat. It's a pretty plain seat. It just doesn't really do much for my butt or the rest of my body, come to think of it. But luckily, today's sponsor is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an app that makes getting tickets to cooler, more fun seats way easier. You can get seats to football games, basketball games, Taylor Swift games, Kanye West games, whatever kind of games you're into. With SeatGeek, you can do everything on your phone within the app, including actually scanning to get into the event. They've got the best deals, and they have a scoring system that lets you know when you're getting a good deal and when you're not. And if you use my promo code GREG, you'll get $20 off your first purchase. So head on over to SeatGeek. You can use the link in my description. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring the show. Guys, get your butt in a better seat. I'm sure a lot of you remember the last time I reviewed ads for mobile games on Instagram. They all seem to have this really weird strategy where they show a clip from the game and then the caption above it just makes no sense. It's almost confusing to the point where you have to download the game because you're just so confused. Here's an example of this strategy. It's a game where you're this little blob and it looks like you go around trying to knock people off of this platform. And the caption is, I never knew anxiety until I played this game. I've never felt anxious in my whole entire goddamn life until I downloaded this game, which is totally inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. Whether I win or lose in this game has no bearing on my well-being, but it was so stressful that for the first time in my entire life, I felt anxiety. And I know what you're thinking. Yes, I do live a very privileged life. There's this game that looks like all you really do is just zigzag back and forth. But it is the most relaxed game ever. This one's pretty interesting. It looks like you're just a little ball and you bounce from platform to platform and you try not to fall. And it's got Disney's Magic Cinderella's Castle or whatever it is in the background. And the caption for this one is, if you score 400, you can go to Disneyland. So this is interesting because, like, for the first time, it feels like an ad has a coherent phrase at the top. Like, I understand what it means. If you score 400, they're gonna give you a ticket to Disneyland, I guess, which is great. Tickets to Disneyland cost like $100 each. It's pretty impressive that an app would just pay for you to go just for getting like a seemingly pretty attainable score in this game. I think the problem that I have with this is I just kind of doubt it. I really doubt that if I download this game and get a score of 400, that they're gonna like mail me a ticket to Disneyland. So I decided I would put this to the test. Download this game and get to 400 myself and see what happens. No! Okay, the best I can get to is like 100, so I guess I'm not going to Disneyland. This very specific format seems to be actually pretty common with games. Here's another game where you like hit a ball and see how far it goes. And it says if you bounce 10 times, you can legally reach Pink Castle, which is just the Disneyland castle tinted pink. I can legally reach the Pink Castle. Was I not allowed to before? Why wasn't I legally allowed to reach Pink Castle? Why are they trying to keep me out? Come on, I'm a nice guy. Let me into Pink Castle. Legally this time. And then there's this one which says if you swallow Big Ben, you can go to Disneyland. If you swallow Big Ben? What the fuck does that even mean? Big Ben's like the giant clock tower in London. So if you swallow that, you might find yourself at Disneyland. And to prove it, right next to the picture of the game, there's a picture of this like skinned and gutted Donald Duck screaming in agony or maybe anger. You know, like you see at Disneyland. Man, I can't wait until I swallow Big Ben. I can go to Disneyland and see all my favorite characters, like Mickey Mouse with his arms torn off, decapitated Goofy, and skinned and gutted Donald Duck, who's very, very angry about something. Probably the fact that his stomach is gone. Here's another fun phrase. It's a little game where it looks like you flip, and then there's a picture next to it, which is a girl playing in bed, and a guy looking over her shoulder like, what are you doing? And the caption is, when she's tapping the game more than you. I don't understand that progression of emotion, because I think the fire is supposed to be like sexy, like kind of hot. So it's like, she's tapping the game more than me? Oh, she's tapping the game more than me? Hell yeah, girl, you tap that game. You don't get to tap me, as long as I can creepily look over your shoulder in bed while you tap that game, baby girl. There was this sort of cylinder to try to fall all the way down. It looks like a pretty interesting game, but the caption and the picture next to it are even better. If you reach level 2, you're legally a pumpkin. Legally a pumpkin. I've never heard anything better in my fucking life. And all you have to do is reach level 2. Granted, I don't really know what kind of perks or responsibilities come with being a legal pumpkin, but I mean, it sounds great to me. So your bitch ass better believe that I downloaded this game and I got to level 2. That's right, and it took me about 15 seconds. All I had to do was spin this little cylinder while the ball fell, and then I got there. It was kind of weird because when I got to level 2, the game barely even acknowledged that I reached such a momentous achievement. It also didn't say anything about pumpkins. It said nothing. It just said, like, okay, level 2. Do that now. So I don't know what that's all about. But I'm guessing that my new ID will show up in the mail pretty soon, confirming my identity as a legal pumpkin. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to say to my haters, I told you so. You said I'd never amount to anything, but now I'm a pumpkin. Because the Instagram ads that I really want to talk about today are quite a bit different than any of the ones I've talked about before. This will be a series of ads from probably the most fucked up looking game I've ever seen. It's a game called Game of Sultans. I don't really know if it's a popular game or if any of you have maybe even played this. Maybe you could tell me if the game is as fucked up as the ads are, but it seems to be advertising all over Instagram. The thing about these ads is it makes the game look like this really gross, like sexist, and all around just like awful game. And I don't understand really how it's supposed to make me want to play the game. Each ad that I've seen and that I've saved is like a series of pictures, like one of those little albums that you can go through on Instagram. So the first picture is 3 women, and it looks like you're given a choice. It says, Your Majesty, please choose a maid to serve you. So it looks like you're playing as like the king or the sultan of this palace, and you have to choose a maid. And it looks like you're basing this decision purely based off looks, as there's not any sort of resume that I can see. You're basically just trying to decide who's going to clean your house best based on who is hottest. I've never known those 2 attributes to be a correlation, but I don't know, maybe the Sultan knows something that I don't. Ooh, the game's heating up a little bit. Now you get to decide, who would you choose as Empress? As Sultan, graceful and elegant as you are, you get to have your pick of any lady in the land. You can choose this woman, who you've got your arm around. She seems like quite a catch. She's sort of tickling the little hairs on your chinny chin chin. Or you can pick this crying woman who is pregnant with your child. And I think the body language is pretty clear in this picture who he's thinking about choosing. So it looks like you've gone from choosing a maid to getting someone pregnant, picking an empress. So what's next in the life of a sultan, you may be wondering? Well, it looks like the next thing for you is to pass on the crown. The kingdom has to live on after you go, so it's time to start having babies. So, as sultan, you decide to have a child. And, the newborn son is too ugly! What should I do? Oh, no. Okay, so this is an interesting predicament. The sultan has had a child, and, it's too ugly. The newborn son is too ugly. Like, there's a certain amount of ugliness that the sultan would accept, but this son, with his unibrow and his freckles, I don't know, he looks pretty much like a normal baby except for the unibrow. This son is too ugly. What should I do? What do you mean, what should I do? Like, there's nothing you can really do now about the baby's looks. Like, he's here. The baby is here. But let's see what the options here are. I'm guessing it's going to be something like you can choose to either, give the son up for adoption because he's too ugly, or you can love him just the same because no matter what he looks like, he's still your son. It looks like there's one button and it says dislike. So I guess that's your only option, is to just dislike your son forever. Ooh! Oh! The newborn son is too ugly! Dislike. I don't like you. I'm sorry. You're too ugly. And that is the only thing I will be doing, is not liking you. This game doesn't seem very fun. There's not many options. So you might think this ad is a little bit too far already, but things are really about to go off the deep end in this next picture. So there's this picture of this girl, and she appears to be crying. It looks like she's got something going on with her face, and she says, "My queen, please forgive me." So I guess we're the queen now. I don't know what happened to the king or the sultan, wherever he is. He's probably off disliking his son somewhere. And the 2 options here are forgive her or slap again. I've already slapped her once? I feel like a monster, and I'm not even playing the game. It just put me into this situation where I've already slapped this girl once. I don't even know what she did. The game just assumes, like, yeah, well, obviously you're gonna slap her once, but what do you want to do after picking a maid based on looks, you're abandoning this woman, you got pregnant, you're calling your son ugly, and then you're slapping this woman. The caption for this ad doesn't really help either. The maid conceived your child accidentally. That's a weird phrase. She conceived your child accidentally. It's sort of taking a lot of the blame off the dude, right? Like the Sultan's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, I might have had sex with you, but you're the one who accidentally conceived a child. Saying accidentally makes it sound like it was like a clumsy thing, like, whoops, oh, I slipped and now I'm pregnant. Would you ask her to give birth and promote her as a concubine? What's a concubine? Sound like a mix between a cucumber and a porcupine? A concubine is a woman who lives with a man but has a lower status than his wife or wives. The next ad for this game has some pretty good social commentary. Let's check it out. The first image shows 3 women again, but this time we see young girls. One is poor, one is noble, and one is rich. I think that this image is trying to make some sort of like social commentary about rich people, because the rich girl looks a little bit heavier. The caption says, Ottoman Palace Life. I was born 20 times before I gave birth to a cute princess. What does that mean? I feel like that's a mistranslation or something. But the result was accidentally fat. No one wants to marry her. Ugh. No one wants to marry my fat daughter. Do you know how many times I had to be born to have that daughter? So I don't really get what the picture's supposed to represent. Like, was I